Welcome in, belly up, have a seat and grab a drink as we talk some Wingman Fantasy Football. Welcome into another edition of Wingman Fantasy Football, the League Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Furley, and as always, I'd like to thank all of you, or any of you, who may be watching or listening to today's show. This is episode 106, a Week 6 preview. But before we get any further along, I'd like to welcome into the bar Mr. Bernie, a.k.a. Team B.
I'm Cuban B. Yes, Cuban B.
How are you doing tonight, Bernie?
I am doing well, Michael. How are you?
A little stressed, the cleanup after this storm. I want to make sure or relay our messages out there that everyone hopefully is doing well. I know the West Coast got pummeled last night, so we're wishing you all the best of luck in our thoughts. So other than that, I'm doing good. A little exhausted, but we're doing okay.
All right, let's get this show on the road.
All right, in this episode, once again, a jam-packed show as we will set the slate for the weekend's primetime games, check in on our player news and practice reports, check the activity of our waiver wire, go over this week's matchups in the Wingman Fantasy Football League. We will see who's on top of the newest power rankings, and we also will have our starts of the week. We will have another installment of a fourth and long with Bernie, and we will take stock of this week's Wingman Jam. And don't forget, we will dive into that mailbag. But before we do any of that, let's make sure that everybody is in the room. Wingman Assemble! All right, guys, let's check the slates for the primetime games this week. Once again, we have 4 NFL teams on bye this week, as there will be no Kansas City Chiefs, LA Rams, Miami Dolphins, or Minnesota Vikings available to play in your lineups this week. And I also want to remind you that there is another game in London on Sunday morning, so set your lineups accordingly. All right, let's see the schedule for the primetime games. As on Thursday night, we had the San Francisco 49ers mining their way up to the Great Northwest to take on division rival and NFC West leaders, the Seattle Seahawks, and that took place at 8:15 p.m. On Sunday morning, like I said, in London, we had the Chicago Bears giving up one of their home games to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars, who will be right at home in London. And the Sunday night game has the Cincinnati Bengals heading to Jersey to take on the New York Giants at 8:20 p.m. And the final game of the week on Monday night has the Buffalo Bills stampeding their way down to Jersey to take on the New York Jets at 8:15 p.m. What do you think about these NFL matchups?
Wow. It's too bad they couldn't flex some of these games, but yeah, they're good. I'm excited to see this Seattle game. I got Mr. Ken Walker going, so I need some big runs from him.
Are we worried about the field? I know it's a artificial turf, but the Meadowlands, or MetLife Stadium rather, is going to have back-to-back games on Sunday night and Monday night.
Oh, yeah. If you're playing in that game, I would be completely worried about at least one person going down with a multi-week, if not season-long injury. But it's Buffalo and the Jets, so, oh well.
All right, as for the Thursday night game, we had 9 players in our manager's lineups for that game. The Fantastics had a pair of Niners in his lineup with Debo.
Who? Debo.
And the San Francisco defense. And they took our jobs, had DK Metcalf in his lineup. As he mentioned before, Bernie's Team B is watching Kenneth Walker scoring on Thursday night. Amazing Spidey had Jordan Mason in his lineup against Crazy Fish's Brandon Ayuk. And Ben's Brilliant Team had 3 players in his lineup on the Thursday night game with Brock Purdy, George Kittle, and Tyler Lockett. Thursday night is going to make or break the weekend for Ben. What do you think about some of those players going on Thursday night?
Well, it looks like Ben had a brilliant idea to play all of those players because there's already been, I believe, a Purdy to Kittle connection in the end zone.
Oh, nice. All right, guys, let's get into some player news and practice reports. All right. This is a little surprising when I read this today. Michael Pittman is dealing with a back injury. He's expected to miss this week, and he may miss multiple weeks as the Colts are mulling whether or not to put him on the IR. Spencer Rattler, the Snake Man himself, is slated to make his very first start and his NFL debut for the Saints against the Tampa Bay Bucks. Oh, that Bucks defense is going to eat. And Drake May will get his first start for the Patriots against the Texans. Speaking of the Texans, we have Nico Collins was officially placed on the IR, meaning he will miss at least 4 games. This is a tough blow to Mac Daddy 2s. Malik Neighbors is still in the concussion protocol, and he may not be ready for week 6. They have the Sunday night game, so definitely have a backup plan ready, but it also gives them just a little bit more time to maybe get ready to go. And we have Anthony Richardson has returned to a full practice. Looks like he's going to get that healthy tag, and he might return to the starting lineup. What do you think about some of these players' news that we've talked about so far here?
Well, I think a couple of receivers, maybe Alec Pierce and maybe Darius Slayton, are going to get really big bumps. So sad to hear the bad news, but those players looks like up and up.
Do we think they're going to put Richardson back in if he's healthy? They said he would. They said they would.
Even if they do or they don't, if Pittman doesn't play, I mean, that's a big time player right there.
Yep. All right, let's look at some other players here. Jaylen Warren is already listed as doubtful for this week, but he has logged in some limited practice sessions, so definitely keep an eye on him as maybe he'll get upgraded through the later part of the week, but it's not looking good based on his designation. Aiden O'Connell is getting a start again for the Raiders as the Raiders will take on the Pittsburgh Steelers in week 6. TJ Watt is going to get some fun sacks against Aiden O'Connell this week. And another teammate from the Colts, Josh Downs, has been dealing with a toe injury, and as of now, he's listed as questionable heading into the weekend. And Brian Robinson Jr. is dealing with a knee injury and has been missing practice. He did the same routine last week, missing practices, but he did get on the field. Keep in mind, he did finish with a nice fantasy day last week with 2 touchdowns, but he had almost no yards. So definitely monitor the situation, as I think it's going to be a truly questionable decision going into game time. What about any of these players here? We have the Raiders changing their quarterback. Steelers are still down running backs. Josh Downs might be out, and Brian Robinson is nicked up.
Yeah. Back to the Colts. I mean, if we got one of their big time receivers out and another one dinged up, I mean, that's even more beneficial for Alec Pierce. As far as the Raiders go, I don't know what's going on there, man. That's just turning into a dumpster fire very, very quickly.
Do we think Adonai Mitchell is a potential dart throw as a Colts receiver if the other 2 are down?
Oh, for sure. If you are in need, and there are a couple of teams out there that look like they're struggling to get some active players in their lineups, there might be, if you've got a spot, got a bench warmer that you're just waiting for something to happen, put somebody in that has a boom bust for you this week.
All right, these next players I have here are going to be of interest to you, I believe, as Russell Wilson has been practicing in full this week. He is getting healthy. However, Justin Fields has already been named the starter for this week. A potential short leash. If he doesn't do well this week, we might have a change for week 7. We'll see. And Devontae Adams. He will not play once again for the Raiders as he's going to miss his as he awaits a potential trade. And Jonathan Taylor, I apologize to the world. I keep calling him Jonathan Stewart. I don't know what I'm doing. But Jonathan Taylor missed practice once again, and all indications are he's going to miss his second consecutive game. All right, so you got a couple players here on your team and a player getting healthy for the Pittsburgh quarterback position. What do you have on Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, Devontae Adams, or Jonathan Taylor?
Oh, wow. So, yeah, I am sitting Justin Fields. I'm going to be starting Kirk Cousins just because I'm a little bit afraid of what that situation is. It might be a pedestrian-style offense. And as far as Jonathan Taylor goes, I was lucky that Ken Walker lost his questionable tag because my other 2 running backs had questionable tags. And it looks like, if Taylor doesn't even play, that's okay for me right now. Kamara is my other player that has that questionable tag, but we'll see how that goes.
All right. This one's always fun to report on here. Christian McCaffrey is targeting an early November return. We get different dates and weeks every time there's a report. I don't know what to take in anymore. They say he might be ready for week 7. He might not play till December. It's somewhere in between, so I don't know. James, we have a couple of Bills coming up here as James Cook has not been practicing due to a foot injury. The Bills play on Monday night, so definitely have a backup plan ready just in case he misses. And Khalil Shakir, his teammate for the Bills, is still not practicing as he nurses an ankle injury. And if he gets on the practice field by Saturday, there's a decent chance he can get on the field, but he still might miss week 6 and miss his second consecutive week. So we have a pair of Bills you got to keep an eye on. Right now, I've noticed they are both in the starting lineup for Paul's Kubert Rage, and they play that Monday night game. That is a dicey situation. Travis Etienne has been limited in practice all week with a shoulder injury, but it looks like he will most likely suit up, but definitely keep an eye. And if you have him in your lineup, that's that 9:30 start on Sunday. So you got to wake up. If you're going to consider playing him, you got to wake up early to make sure he's in. And Joe Mixon returned to practice in a limited capacity, but reports say that he may miss another week, if not longer. I don't know what's going on with his news reports either. This is a very volatile situation, and definitely monitor his availability on Sunday morning. But Dameon Pierce may make a return this week. I only say this, Nick, you've got Joe Mixon in your lineup. Just keep an eye on him. Do not play a 0. I swear to God, I'm going to punch you in the face. All right, what do you have on these guys? We got McCaffrey up and down with his return. Yeah. A couple of Bills here. Travis Etienne in London, and Joe Mixon is, again, all over the place on these reports.
Yeah, so as far as the ETN news goes, I will have a take on that later in the episode.
Okay.
And the Bills receivers, Buffalo, if you're listening, go out there and make an offer for Mr. Davante Adams. I think his hamstring will heal up during the flight.
I don't disagree with you. Yeah, that's a good call right there. All right, guys, we are going to take a look at our waiver wire activity. And we had 10 waiver claims this week for 8 NFL players, and 2 of these players had received multiple bids. We are going to start off with our highest price waiver wire acquisition this week, going to the Fantastics. We had Ladd McConkey, went for $12.
Wow.
And there were no other bids for Ladd McConkey, so it is safe to say that you paid too much.
You paid too much.
Roshan Johnson went to Red Sox Nation for $7. He heard that we were saying he is the goal line back, and they're playing against the Jaguars, so he's taking a speculative ad there. But there were no other bids for Roshan as Red Sox Nation.
You paid too much.
Surprisingly enough, this next player had multiple bids. The kicker, Chase McLaughlin, for the Cincinnati Bengals, went to Ben's Brilliant Team for $3, outbidding Crazy Fish, who put in a $0 bid. And Josh Downs went to Kubert Rage for $3. This was before the news that he might be hurt and before the news that Anthony Richardson may be returning to the field. Our next player who had a multiple bid, Jalen Tolbert, went to Amazing Spidey for $2, and I outbid Kubert's Rage, who put in a $1 bid. So that was the perfect bid. And the Colts defense went to Crazy Fish. He has streaming defenses, and he's paying for them. Small numbers, but he's making sure he gets these guys as he's playing the Colts defense this week for Crazy Fish at a $1 bid. And the Fantastics picked up Austin Sabert for $0. The Washington team is going up and down the field, and field goals are definitely in their realm of possibilities. And another streaming defense. I've been streaming defenses here, Bernie, for the last 3 weeks. I picked up another one, Atlanta's defense, for $0. Any of these pickups catch your attention? We didn't even mention Ladd McConkey last week for a waiver wire target, and he was the most high-price acquisition.
Yeah, that's some information, inside information I'd like to know about right there. But yeah, decent pickup. Paid too much, but Jalen Tolbert is the one that I had circled there. That is a good acquisition for $2. I like that. I like that a lot.
I'm debating on starting him. He's like all my guys are equally bad or equally perspective, or speculative. So it's like I don't. They're all 2 or 3 receivers, and I don't know which to play. I've got Calvin Ridley right now and Odunze in my lineup, and Jalen Tolbert fits right in with that ilk of players. I don't know which way to go.
Yeah, did Calvin Ridley have a down game last week?
They were off last week, but he had a down game the prior week. Yeah.
All right, so he's due up.
That's what I thought last time, but he had 2 bad games in a row before that. So I don't. Yeah, I don't disagree, but yeah. All right, guys. Now let's see who's playing who in this week's matchups.
This week's matchup.
All right, guys, let's look at this week's matchup. Starting off with Amazing Spidey at 2-3 is playing his brother, Crazy Fish, at 3-2. What do you have on this particular game? We both have players going in our lineup on Thursday night. I haven't looked at the updated projection. Why don't you give us a little look at that before we go to the other players?
Well, it's going to be a tilted projection. Crazy Fish has not entered a kicker as of yet. But it looks like it is 91 to 82. He'll probably get like 5 points for a kicker, no matter who he puts in. So it looks like it would be 87 to 91 in favor of you. But it looks like he's got Dak Prescott. Dak is due up against Detroit to maybe be a shootout. So there might be a lot of things going on there. He also has St. Brown on his team. And Marvin Harrison Jr. needs to come back from.
So he's banking on that Dallas game.
Week.
Yeah.
On your side, though, he's definitely looking for receiver action going on in his lineup. On your side, though, it looks like you do have a pretty solid group. They're consistent. I don't think you have anybody that's going to be on fire, though. So this is going to be a close game.
I'll take a close game, and I hope I eke this one out. I cannot score touchdowns. It's been a problem. All right, our next game on the docket is Bernie's Team B at 3-2, coming off a loss after his 3-game winning streak up against Paul's Cubert Rage at 4-1. What do you have on this game?
Well, he's got the stud Jaden Daniels, and if he can get a 30 burger, he might make up for the Shakir that he also has on his team. Outside of that, looks like a pretty solid team. Oh, I'm sorry, he's starting Downs right now, so we'll keep an eye on that. So he might have 2 duds coming into this matchup. I do currently have AJ Brown in the lineup without any tags on him, so I'm happy for that. Have my big boy back, and I got JMO catching some balls from Jared Goff, so hopefully those 2 receivers can.
So I'm not going to tell you what to do here. Obviously, I'm just giving you. I'm just brainstorming for you. He's got 3 questionable guys. 2 of them are on the Monday night game. And I know you just dropped Braylon Allen. Keep in mind, if you want to potentially block that off so he can't, if he needs a desperate pickup, keep an eye on his players because you might want to pick up that Braylon Allen in the middle of Sunday or early Monday to block him if he has some questionable guys going into that Monday night game.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan, and I was thinking about that, but the person that I would be dropping would be Tracy Jr., so I'd have to time it strategically.
Well, as long as you drop him by Saturday, if you drop him on Saturday, not before, then he won't be able to be picked up for Sunday.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah,
just thinking about it. Just think about it.
Yeah, that's true. Very true.
All right, so our next matchup here.
Yeah, Braylon Allen's been on my watch list since I dropped him anyway.
Nick's Waddle away at 2-3, breaking his 3-game losing streak up against Reggie's Lion Eyes at 0-5 and searching through the desert for his very first victory of the 2024 season. What do you have on this matchup?
On paper, Reggie has this win easily. He just can't have too many off games by these guys. Garrett Wilson needs to step up. Najee Harris needs to step up. Outside of that, he's got studs all up and down this lineup. The only other concern I see here is he's got the Cleveland defense, and they are a stout defense, but they're playing Philly coming off of the bye with some healthy players. Nick, on the other side, he still is got some questionable players with possible zeros in his lineup. So, I mean, this is a lead for Reggie and his first possible victory for the season.
All right, now our next game on the docket is Ken's the Fantastics on a 4-game losing streak. He's at 1-4 up against Jimerson's Red Sox Nation, who's on a 3-game winning streak. He is at 3-2. What do you have in this matchup as the Fantastics are playing the Red Sox Nation? And I'm going to start off real quick. I know I just asked you a question. I'm sorry. But we had the Fantastics with the Miami Dolphins on bye this week, so he's missing some of his players who have been disappointing, but now they're off the radar completely.
Yeah, they might not come back in. If he can get Tony Pollard, Amari Cooper, Rashid Shaheed going, which he can definitely get those guys going, he should be up with Red Sox Nation, even though Red Sox Nation is a juggernaut. He does have neighbors in his line at the moment. Just keep an eye on that. But, I mean, CD Lamb, Drake London, Stephon Diggs. He's going to definitely get some receptions out of the majority of these guys and possibly some big plays out of
Nice.
CD Lamb.
All right, our next matchup here is Katie's King George at 1-4 up against Alex's They Took Our Jobs, who had his first loss of the season in a monster upset, but he's at 4-1 and leading the league in points. What do you have in this matchup of David versus Goliath as Katie's King George up against They Took Our Jobs?
Well, I think David might have his rock in his sling, his little twirly murly, and get ready to go here. Zay Flowers, Chris Olave, bounce back week, I believe. Mike Evans, Mr. Consistency, just to name a few of her players. But They Took Our Jobs. He's got Josh Allen. Is Josh Allen going to be able to perform? That's the big question there. The rest of his team is a solid team. Christian Kirk would be his wide receiver 3 flex option. That might be a little iffy. Outside of that, though, he is still.
So we'll see how if it translates. But in the recent past here, Mike Evans always has a dud against the Saints. Now, can you keep that going? I don't know, but that's a tough historical matchup for Mike Evans.
Yeah, there's always one or two little shots to the head, little pushing and shoving, a little after talking going on with the Saints there. So that's very true.
We didn't put this in our Wingman Jam as a teaser. We should have put what's the over or the what quarter will Mike Evans be ejected in this game? For a second. All right, our next game on the docket here is Corey's Mac Daddy 2s up against Ben's Brilliant Team. Mac Daddy 2s comes into this contest at 4-1, and Ben's Brilliant Team is at 3-2. What do you have on this matchup?
Well, actually, I think this is going to be a close shootout as well. I might lean for the upset in this one. Ben's Brilliant Team has some great players. ATN Jr. is my only concern there for him. Outside of that, he's pretty solid, good to go. On the other side of the ball, though, we have Breece Hall still starting, and I'm really concerned about that. So it looks like Purdy and Kittle are going to give Ben a really big push here.
Nice. All right, guys. Now it is time to check in on our power rankings.
I have the power!
By the power of Grayskull.
I'm living in it, no one man should have all that power.
Wingman Power Rankings.
All right, let's start. Check on this week's power rankings. Going into week 6 here, we have Crazy Fish has fallen down to the bottom. He was in that 9th position. It's fallen all the way, which means Ben's Brilliant Team, for the first time in 4 weeks, is out of the basement. He's moved up to 11th in the power rankings. And Amazing Spidey keeps going down, 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 as he has moved into 10th place in the power rankings compared to his 8th place from last week. Waddle Away has slightly crept up from 10th to 9th, and Lion Eyes has moved up quite a bit, moving down from 11 to 8th. Cubert's Rage in Red Sox Nation just flip-flopped once again, as Red Sox Nation as in 6th, and Cubert Rage is in 7th. Team B is holding steady in that 5th spot. That's at least your 2nd week in a row there. It might be your 3rd. And Fantastics, once again, is holding in at number 4. Mac Daddy 2s was our top of the power rankings last week, has dropped down to 3. King George has moved up 1 spot to 2. And They Took Our Jobs, our highest scoring team in the league, getting the credit that Bernie thinks he deserves, is now back to the top of the power rankings. Do you think you are 5th in standings and 5th in power rankings? So I would say yours is a very consistent mark.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'm happy with that. And I think that is a fair assessment of my team. As my cues go away from my players, though, I want to see a little bump up there. I want to get into the top 3.
All right, guys. It is time to get into the starts of the week. All right, we're going to start with our QB selections for this week. Would you like to go first, or would you like me to go first?
Oh, I'll take this one while we have some good service here. Let's see. The QB start of the week for me will be Mr. Jared Goff. And I know this is an easy one, but the rebound may already be underway for Mr. Goff. We saw a perfect Monday night performance against Seattle 2 weeks ago. They had their bye. And they've got lots of exploitable matchups coming up here in the next game. And Goff is looking much more comfortable with Jameson Williams. So I expect it to be nothing but up and up for Mr.
Nice.
Goff.
All right. I'm going back to this dirty well. I don't think I've picked this player, but I've picked this team in multiple situations. We're going for Will Levis up against the Indianapolis Colts. I know it hurts so bad to say, but the Colts give up the third most points to the quarterback position. Heck, they made Trevor Lawrence even look good last week, giving up some long bombs. I'm hoping for a couple bombs this week for Will Levis. As long as he doesn't throw no-look passes over his shoulder, he should be in decent shape. So we'll see. We've got a much different pick here. You've got Jared Goff in a high-scoring game and Will Levis in a crap show game. We'll see how this one plays out.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So, I have been picking some, not top of the list. You might already know to start players. So Jared Goff was my gift to myself for this week. So we'll go back to what I normally do here. For the running back, start Tank Bigsby. So he's outperformed Travis Etienne in almost every aspect of the game. And it's a stark contrast from last season. So Bigsby leads the NFL with 4.2 yards over expected per attempt. Only second to Derrick Henry. I'm sorry. Derrick Henry is second at 2.5 yards. So if Etienne sits at his less than 1 yard per attempt, then Bigsby is just going to run away with this job. And I think this is the game where Bigsby does turn it up.
So I forgot to mention during the matchups how he said Etienne was your questionable guy for Ben. He's got Bigsby on his team. He's just waiting for one of these guys to miss some time and the other guy can take off, assuming the reason the other guy's missing is one's hurt and the other guy's healthy. So if Etienne is actually not going to play this week, or we know he's going to have a minimal role, Tank Bigsby is a stud here. Are you thinking he's going to take this one regardless of the whether he's active or not in terms of Etienne? Pardon me.
I think so. I think the Jaguars can't afford to play favorites right now. They need to get some wins quickly. So they need to play the better player at this moment.
All right. We are having a lot of opposite given tug and pull here, as I have Breece Hall for my start of the week at the running back position. He is going to rebound this game. He's up against the Buffalo Bills, who give up the second most points to the running back position, and they have been giving up monster games more recently than earlier in the season. And the turmoil for the Jets offense and a new play caller, I think the Jets might just simplify things and lean a little bit more on that running game and get Breece Hall going. Am I crazy?
Well, no. The analytics is sound for what you think should happen with a interim coach coming in. Everybody in the offense gets a bump up. Everybody, no matter what. First game out. But I think if they're being smart about it and they want to win now, they're going to realize, why in the world are we playing Breece Hall? Let's play Braylon Allen.
Oh, wow.
If you were to look at these games and say, know nothing about the players, nothing about anything, and just say, why is the Hall guy still playing? Why isn't Allen guy getting the ball more? So that's where I'm leaning on that game. So more power to you, though. I hope you get it right.
All right. Now we're going on to the starts of the week for our receiver position. I got a surprise for you. I'll let you go first because mine is ridiculous.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to take a page out of your book this week, and I'm going to pick one of my own players, Darnell Mooney. He's for real. Kirk Cousins is throwing more to his wide receivers and less to his tight ends and his running backs. And Mooney is 24% of the team's target share. He's getting open down the field, short passes, over the middle. So he is going to be it. He's got 8 catches of 20 plus yards, and that's tied with his fantasy counterparts of Nico Collins, Jaden Reed, and Justin Jefferson. So Darnell Mooney, start of the week at wide receiver.
I was having a really hard time with this. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to the tight end position in the receiver spot. Dalton Schultz against the New England Patriots. This has everything to do with the injury to Nico Collins, and he's going to need a new red zone buddy. And Dalton Schultz is going to maybe not get the yards, but he's going to get, I'm going to say, my guess is, just to give you a stat line, 35 to 45 yards and a score. So he's going to get that 11 to 12 points this week, depending on the number of catches. Dalton Schultz is my backdoor start of the week, and I am in pain.
There's a wide receiver or a tight end out there that I think might have more points than that coming into this week off of the waiver wire. If anybody picks him up, that's Mr. Kraft. Go get Kraft. If you like tight ends, no, he should be a start of the week. If I were to actually pay attention to tight ends, I would have picked him up, and I probably would have him on this list right now. But I don't want any tight ends, and I don't care for them.
I'm taking a page off of Bernie's book, and I'm going for some lesser-known underdogs here. We'll see how it pans out. Good luck to us both. All right, guys. So now it is time for your favorite Friday morning segment and mine. It is now time for Fourth and Long with Bernie.
First down, the game's over. Go for it.
This measurement could determine the Giants'
It is
season.
time for Fourth and Long.
With Bernie.
All right. Hello, friends. Welcome back to Fourth and Long, where today we're going to dive into the exciting world of the dual threat quarterback. Those magical players who are just as likely to burn you with a 50-yard bomb as they are to scramble for a crucial first down. Now, Mike, I know you're grinning from ear to ear right now. You've always had a soft spot for those QBs who can make magic with their legs as well as their arms. With the Commanders facing the Ravens this Sunday, we're in for a treat. We've got the rookie sensation, Jaden Daniels, who's been showing off some serious wheels, going up against the human highlight reel himself, Mr. Lamar Jackson. It's like watching a sports car race a fighter jet. But before we get into our top, so let's take a quick jog down memory lane here. And the concept of the dual threat quarterback isn't a new thing. Back in the 1950s and 60s, we had guys like Fran Tarkington scrambling around, making defenses look silly. Then came the 70s and 80s with players like Roger Staubach and Randall Cunningham taking it to another level. And as we moved into the 90s and the 2000s, we saw a real evolution. Suddenly, having a quarterback who could run wasn't just a bonus, it was a weapon. And that brings us to our top 10 list of dual threat quarterbacks. Remember, this is my list, so feel free to disagree. In fact, I encourage it. Okay. Now, I'm going to just name off the first 9. These are in no particular order. But number 1 is number 1 as far as my favorite and who I think is the best. So first on the list here is Mr. Steve Young. Yes, you heard me correctly. Steve Young, the OG of the modern dual threat. Young proved he could be elusive and still throw dimes. Next, we have Randall Cunningham. They called him the ultimate weapon for a reason. This guy could do it all, even punt. John Elway, often overlooked as a runner, but tell that to the defenders that he stiff-armed into oblivion. Donovan McNabb, Chunky Soup's favorite son. He could beat you with his arm, legs, and his acting skills in those commercials. Mr. Russell Wilson. Actually, let's call him Mr. Unlimited himself, the master of the scramble drill and impossibly deep bombs. And one of my favorites, like a linebacker, ran like a runaway freight train. Superman indeed. And then we come to Mr. Lamar Jackson, the modern day cheat code. When he takes off, it's like watching a gazelle with rocket boosters. Then we have Josh Allen. Imagine a tight end that decided to play quarterback and was somehow amazing at it. That's Josh Allen. And now Patrick Mahomes. He's not known primarily for running, but have you seen those sidearm throws while he's on the move? Pure magic. And my favorite and number one on this list, and you haven't heard his name yet, so you know it's coming. Mr. Michael Vick. Saving the best for last, Vick in his prime was like watching someone play Madden with all the cheat codes on. He didn't just elude defenders, he made them question their career choices. Now, I know what you're thinking. Bernie, where's Jalen Hurts? What about Justin Fields? How could you leave out Kyler Murray? Well, that's where you come in, dear listeners. I want to hear from you. Leave a comment with your favorite dual threat QB. Tell me if you think I've lost my marbles with this list, or let me know who you think I left out. Your comments fuel this show almost as much as my love for watching Michael Vick highlights. As we look forward to watching Jaden Daniels try to evade the Ravens defense this Sunday, remember that we're witnessing the continued evolution of the quarterback position. These aren't just quarterbacks anymore. They're athletic marvels who are redefining what it means to lead an offense. All right, this has been Fourth and Long, Dual Threat QB Evolution. All right, Mike, I don't know about you, but all this talk of running has me feeling inspired. What do you say at the end of the show, we go toss the pigskin around? I'll even let you pretend to be Michael Vick for a play or two.
Oh, sounds fun. Yeah, we'll get out there right after the show. We'll get out there right after. Very nice. I like it. Of course, Michael Vick was the most fun to watch. I just remember him. I believe it was against Minnesota in an overtime game where he ran right down the field where everyone was trying to get him, and he just would be gone by the time the defenders got there. They thought they had a beat on him, and he just made a miss and run into each other. It was that was a great time to watch Michael Vick play his first 3 or 4 years for the Falcons.
Oh yeah, I highly recommend it for our younger viewers out there. If you haven't seen Michael Vick play while he was actually playing, just Google highlight reel Michael Vick and just be amazed of the way he did it. So
good call, very good. We'll see how Daniels does this week. They're leading the NFC in a record. No, they're behind the Vikings, who are 5-0. But other than that, they're second in the league in record.
Yeah, that should be a great game to watch.
And they're both in that same part of the country, so there should be a decent fan base for both teams in that stadium.
Yeah, I think they call it the DMV zone or something like that.
Okay.
it's the Delaware, Maryland, Virginia zone.
Gotcha. All right, guys. Now we're going to take a look as we go head-to-head in our Wingman Jam.
Wingman Fantasy Football.
Wingman Jam with Bernie the Bounty Hunter and Amazing Spidey. Boom shakalaka. All right, going into last week's Wingman Jam's picks, I was up 3-1 while Bernie was 2-2, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, so we're 3-1 and 2-2 going into our second batch of Wingman Jam pick'ems. And last week we had our first pick was a fantasy matchup as the underdog. Ben's brilliant team versus They Took Our Jobs at 11-point spread. I picked Ben to cover, and Bernie picked Alex to cover. And Ben won this one outright for the big upset. So in this one, I got the first pick right. Bernie got the first pick wrong. Our next one also was my pick. I believe was it my pick or your pick? I might be mistaken. Either way, it was the spread as Dallas was up against Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh was the favorite by 2.5 points. I picked Dallas to cover on the road, while Bernie picked Pittsburgh to cover at home, and Dallas won this one at the buzzer. This could have gone either way except for a late fourth down touchdown, but Dallas did win 20-17, so Dallas did cover the 2.5. Right now, I am up 2-0 with 2 more games to go, and this one was fun. Similar to your fourth and long, we had the rushing yard totals for Lamar Jackson versus Kyler Murray. Lamar Jackson set the table with 55 yards on the 1 o'clock game. It looked like he was going to take this, but Kyler Murray had a 50-yard touchdown run on the second play of the game and finished with 83 yards. I picked Murray for this one. He picked Jackson. So right now I am up 3-0 in last week's Wingman Jam. Oh my gosh. And then our last game here, we have Miami versus New England, where the New England was favored by 1 point. We were hemming and hawing here, but I took the home team to cover the 1 point at New England, while Bernie picked Miami to get off the schneid and get this one down. And he was right on this one, as he had the Miami side of this one while I had New England. So after last week, I was 3-1. He was 1-3. Through our 2 weeks of the Wingman Jam, I'm at 6-2. He's at 3-5. You've got a lot of catching up to do, my man.
Oh, yeah, but that's all right, though.
All right,
Miami
we're
won.
going to get it here, though. We're going to have another week here of the Wingman Jam. Now, what are we going to start off with our pick'ems for this one? You go ahead and start us off.
All right. Well, I'm going to go to your start of the week then. Let's put your money where your mouth is. So I've got Breece Hall versus Braylon Allen. Who's going to just have more points? I got Breece Hall week 4 coming with a 2.8, week 5 with a 5.2. He's projected at 13.3. Allen week 4 with a 5.1 and week 4 or week 5 with a 3.3, and he's only projected at a 7.29. I'm taking Allen in this, that he will outpoint Hall in this game.
That is a bold strategy, Cotton. I'm gonna take Breece Hall here. Of course, he's my start of the week. So I've got Hall versus Allen here. If you get this one, you deserve it. But this one seems like an easy one for me.
Got it. All right. What do you have in the fantasy world?
Matchup. I'll start with the NFL side here. This one's essentially a pick'em here. We have Jacksonville technically at Chicago, but the game is in London. Chicago is favored by 1 point. I was going back and forth. I like the matchup for Chicago, but I hate the location of the game. So I'm going to take Jacksonville to cover the 1 point here, or they're going to lose by less than a point. I don't know how you do that. So essentially it's a pick 'em. So Jacksonville's going to win this one only because they're playing in London. What do you have your pick for this game?
Oh, I'm definitely going to take Chicago in this one. Chicago got to London early. I think their flight was on Monday, and Jacksonville got delayed because of the storm. So I'm going to take Chicago in this one. And I just think, Caleb has left September behind, and he's moving on to his productive October.
I totally agree with you. My heart says Chicago, or my head says Chicago, or my heart says Chicago. But just how Jacksonville's they'll usually get 3 wins a year. They've been better the last couple, but they always get 2 wins in London. It's crazy.
Yeah. All right. So for my NFL one, I'm going to have the Washington at Baltimore game. I'm going to be watching this game. This game is circled 3 times in my calendar. So they have a over under of 51.5, and I'm going to take the over in this because I want it to be an exciting shootout.
Yeah, I picked the over that last time when we had the Arizona Washington, and I was wrong, and that was only because I was, like I said, didn't want to hedge when I had a Kyler Murray pick there. But I don't like going overs on big scores. It just seems too hard to hit. I'm going to go under on this one. I'm going to take the under on this one. So you have the over. So we're different on this one. We're different on all 3 so far.
Yep.
All right. Wow. Okay.
Yep. This is how I come back.
That's true. That yeah, you're going to need it. All right. Our last one here is a fantasy one here, and there is a little bit of a spread. The lineups are not truly set. Nick, you've got inactive players in your starting lineup. I swear to God, I'm going to punch you in the face. Okay. We have, the question here is, Lion Eyes going to get his first win of the season up against Waddle-Way? We'll do a straight pick since Lion Eyes need all the help he can get. So I ask you, is Lion Eyes getting his first victory of the season?
Well, I'm going to ask you,
I'm ahead. I'll
since
go
this
first.
is your pick.
As I was saying that, I realized you need the advantage here in the pick. So I'm going to say Lion Eyes is going to get his first win this year because it's inevitable that Nick is going to have an inactive player in his lineup by the end of the week. So I'm going to give if Lion Eyes loses, he should just burn his computer or Yahoo account.
Well, I would say to that I would want to choose Lion Eyes as well, but I have this strange gut feeling that even though Nick is not paying attention 100%, he's like at like a 90%, 85% paying attention to this now. He still might get the win. He still might be like, I don't need to pay attention. I'm winning. It just seems like that's what the scenario is going to be, but I'm going to take Reggie. I'm going to take Lion Eyes for the victory.
We have 4 different picks, guys. Going into this week, I've got a 3-game lead. There's a chance that we're going to just knock this one out and be done, or stay where we're at, or Bernie can come back. We'll see. There's a lot of options here. Good luck to you, sir. I hope
Well, I've got some more cat costumes I can put on, so we're good.
All right, guys. Thank you much for that. Now it is time to get into our mailbag.
You've got mail.
You've got mail. Wingman Fantasy Football.
Mailbag! All right, guys. We've been a little lighter out there. I'm a little disappointed in you guys. I'm looking at you. It's time to send a little more comments and or questions, but we did get a couple here. Our first one comes in from Ken. Hey, Wingman, I've got a tough start-sit decision. Should I play Justin Herbert or Aaron Rodgers with a new play caller? What say you, Bernie?
For our listener, thanks for listening. Thanks for sending in the start-sit question. Out of those two, I think I would lean towards Rodgers. Like we were talking about earlier, with the interim coach, everybody always gets a bump that first week. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets actually won this game. So I would lead with Rodgers there, just because Surtain is going to be on the field, taking away Herbert's.
Who's going to take away? Which receivers is Surtain going to cover?
McConkey probably, but McConkey usually plays a slot, so I don't know. Maybe Quinton, he might be taken away. I think this is one of those games where the Chargers are just going to run. And Surtain is, as of now, he's the defensive player of the year, in my opinion.
I don't disagree.
So I would take Aaron Rodgers to start and sit Herbert, but you're probably going to get around the same amount of points, but more upside for Aaron Rodgers.
I was going to ask you who the Chargers are playing, but you already answered that with mentioning that. So that actually changes things a little bit here. I'm more of a Herbert fan, although he's been not doing anything this year. He hasn't done anything the last 2.5 years, really.
Yeah.
He's still riding the coattails of that stellar rookie season and his second season. Since then, he hasn't done too much. It's hard to root for Aaron Rodgers too. These are different cats with the same problems. You know what I mean? So I'm going to agree with you. I think I'll stick with Aaron Rodgers because he wants to throw the ball for touchdowns. If they're in the red zone, he's going to take the first two shots.
Yeah.
While the Chargers might want to run in those first two shots.
Yeah.
So being that the tiebreaker there, I think you're right. I think I'd lean Aaron Rodgers, but I don't love either of these guys. I actually wanted to make a trade with Ken because he has quarterback issues. But I was looking at Debo, but that Thursday night game always throws a wrench in these trade proposals here because you got to be on it on Monday night to have a chance.
Oh, you know what? Is this from our league, Mr. Fantastics, you're talking about?
Yes.
Oh, I believe that those quarterbacks are on Waddle Away's team.
Oh, I wrote the wrong thing down. Sorry, that came in from Nick. I apologize. Well, Ken was asking what Nick should do. How's that?
Yeah, I mean that's plausible because Nick's not paying attention, so everybody else is asking what Nick should do.
I apologize. I got that wrong there. You're right. So that's not. I can't trade those guys for whatever.
Yeah,
ignore that last part of it there. All right.
Or
Yep.
Mr. Nick Waddleaway, Ken, whoever is sending this message. I believe Daniel Jones is available, and he will outpoint both of those quarterbacks this week.
That is a fair assessment. Yeah, I would definitely take the chance. All right, our next one comes in from Anonymous, and this asks, you've mentioned that you're going to have your Oktoberfest on October 19th, and I hate to tell you, but Oktoberfest ends in the first weekend of October. Are you a moron? All right, well, here we go. First of all, a little too much, all right? A little too aggressive there, buddy. All right.
Wait. Before you start, go ahead and hit that mic rant button on your
Anonymous, you're lucky you didn't put your name on this one. I'd come right to your house and I'd rip your throat out. Okay.
Punch you in the face.
Yeah, you'll be the third person I'll punch in the face today, and two of those are Nick. Okay. All right, so in all fairness, you are right about the dates, but and case in point, this week, when I first started the Oktoberfest beer garden party at the Furley House, we did it in the first weekend of October, and we had a hurricane, and I had to reschedule it. So I pushed it back a couple weeks. One, I don't want to compete with the real restaurants and Culture Fest that have their Oktoberfest because you'd rather go to there than a local house party one. And with the hurricane season, I pushed it back to have a chance to clean up, and falls exactly how it happened this time. With the hurricane just hitting us, I'm going to be cleaning up all this weekend just to be ready. If we had it this weekend or last weekend, it would have been a mess. So there's a reason for it. Not to compete with other culture fests and to give us more time to clean up or get out of hurricane season.
Well, bravo. Good answer. Good answer.
All right. So suck it, Anonymous. All right. All right, guys. I want to thank you all so very, very much for watching another episode of Wingman Fantasy Football, the League podcast. You can find all of our podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn Radio. What else? It's on YouTube Music and Amazon Music. Also, don't forget to look at our website of wingmanfantasyfootball.com/game day, where you can find your inactives and latest news when it comes to setting your lineups, especially for that 9:30 a.m. London game. If you want to get any of our video or audio feeds, I'm out of order here. I apologize. Go to wingmanentertainment.net/podcast. And of course, we always recommend you check us out on YouTube at wingmanfantasyfootball.com/YouTube. You can go ahead and leave a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, leave a comment so we can get you into our next mailbag segment. With that being said, guys, we want to wish all you guys out there on in Florida, on the west coast of Florida, a speedy recovery here. I know it was pretty bad the other night. So with that being said, guys, may your glasses be full, your mugs stay frosty.
And I'll check you later.
All right, guys, we'll see you next time.